amazing that so many of us in healthcare are actually content creators of all the big names under YouTube, or even you just have the 100 subscriber, or maybe you start out at 5, or those of us who are ranked top 1%, even top 0.1% of podcasting world, and the TV host like myself and many of you guys, and the radio. Wow. Isn't it amazing that we step beyond what can we do from advocacy, from patient engagement, to actually truly be someone who values what does it mean, just like this platform, to leverage your voice for the future of healthcare. But now the back of your head is like, that's a lot of work, Sabrina. Yes, we all know that. So this episode, we wanted to talk about all things. How do you create the most effective way to generate your shows and amplify your messages without spending hours editing? And without spending all the time of after a 12-hour shift, you're still thinking, oh my gosh, that episode is too much better. Write my show notes and graphic creation, even though I just want to go to sleep. So we have the amazing Zach's here, John's here with us, and we are your co-hosts for this show. And then John has a media production company, so we definitely want to hear more from him. And Zach had been running his podcast, being involved with podcasts for so many years as well. So let's go down the pipe. So what do you think, each of you guys, are the true bigger challenges for running a media production for a show?
Yeah, the thing for me is in any walk of life, there's always challenges with time management. But I actually work with a lot of healthcare professionals, and so it is compounded by the fact that they can't just step away from an office. They're doing procedures, they're doing surgeries, they're seeing patients that are on their own schedule. And so oftentimes for me as a back-end producer for that, I'm up at 3 a.m. recording someone that's on the East Coast or in Europe. And by the same token, I'm up until 8, 9 o'clock at night with the folks on the West Coast. And so that is a challenge. It's not localized to just healthcare professionals, but in this industry especially, you have to be super flexible to work around that content creation process. And like you said, a lot of times I'm also a coach and a counselor. They don't want to do it. They've worked a 12 or 14-hour shift, and it's like, come on, let's get this one knocked out. You've got great content, let's do it. And so there are a lot of challenges with that, but there's also a lot of satisfaction when you get it done.
John, I'm with you. And Sabrina, just love your enthusiasm, by the way. You're really rocking and rolling today. When I was a home care provider, I started a podcast, and I thought this would be fun to be able to share a lot of great content, not only to caregivers, care recipients, but also to professionals and providers out there in the business. And I thought this is great. So I thought I would produce a nice narrative podcast, which was easy. I'd go and I'd interview somebody for an hour, but it would take me hours to take that and turn it down to a 20-minute show. And like John said, I mean, when did I find the time to do that? Would it be either late at night? And sometimes when you're working late at night, you don't have access to professionals or other people to help you out. I learned from me in terms of my mistakes, and that is I actually thought it was more valuable to invest like 3 days of getting away and spending time either at a conference or with professionals in masterminds and learn from them so I could work smarter, not necessarily harder. And it was well worth the investment. So the tips and tools that I've learned over the years now, going on almost 6 years since my first PodFest, when I went and I started meeting consultants and vendors that would actually start teaching me tricks on how to take those hours of putting a show together down to an hour, which was amazing, absolutely amazing.
Right. It's all about that collective genius. Now, when I work with high-level executive and founders, that we always thinking about how do you truly be able to understand the 20-80 rule, right? Like what is your genius zone plus something you actually like to do, and then be able to hand off the others. And for all the people who's like, no, Sabrina, I don't even have the time or the resource to hand off, then I make them calculate the hourly rate. So are you going to drop yourself hourly rate down to an editor level that you can pay $10 for? Or you are actually worth the 200, 400, 500 hourly rate that you can perform something much bigger and impactful? And that's one thing that people can actually grasp, because numbers also means something output. So we always know production is a process. And sometimes it's about using the right tools to get yourself to that path very quickly. So what are some of the tools and systems that you guys are using that you feel like, hey, this was great. This is why I can be more consistent with my production, instead of most people's like, oh yeah, like my family do it, my kids do it. And that's why we sometimes skip. Sometimes we have one season and we never pick up again, right?
Yeah, consistency is one of the keys to a successful podcast and successful content creation for sure. And 2 years ago, even we were doing most things manually. And now with so many great tools, one of the tools we use regularly is called Capshow. And what that does, it's specifically gauged for podcasters. But once you drop that audio file in, AI does its magic, creates a number of different titles that you can choose from. It transcribes the entire podcast. It also gives me summaries so that I can drop in the show notes and any live links. And that has cut time down from a couple of hours to literally 10 to 15 minutes at the most. And that, I can't tell you how great that tool has been for us. And then, of course, OpenAI and ChatGPT is something we use on a regular basis as well. So those are things that stand out for me. And then, of course, the DAW you use, the digital audio workspace that you use is great. And we use Hindenburg, which is a spoken word audio editing tool. And those all combined, we've put a workflow together where from the time we record to the time it's available and queued up to go out has been dropped by literally hours. And so it's technology is a great thing when it comes to creation and editing for sure.
Mine sounds simple, but the pandemic kind of helped with this because we started going more to Zoom recordings when we were doing podcasting. But before that, I was out in the field and I learned to become quite mobile, whether it's the right types of microphones, whether you're in an outside space, indoor space, whether I'm wearing a headphone or not, and what kind of recorder I was using. The reason why I think that's important because we're going back now to in-person meetings and conferences. And I find that it is a great way when you meet other experts to interview them on the spot and then take your digital recording and then send it over to your production company. It has made life easier. And I learned this one day. There was a very important physician I wanted to meet and interview him. And he's just between his schedule and mine, we just could never really get on a Zoom call or a recording call, which you think would be easy. I found going into his practice and meeting with him when he was in the moment was just probably one of my best podcast episodes I ever recorded.
Wow, that's great.
I think those are amazing tips. Now, I remember 3 years ago, I started my show. The only reason that I'm so consistent every week I'm producing something is because I have a team. Even though at the beginning you're putting money into it, but I found a way to cut costs down. But I also know if I have to spend an hour to do that, I just jib myself, right? And versus I can generate money much higher if I do clinical work, if I do in consultant for these tech companies. So for me, it's about intentionality of what are you doing. And one of the tip I used to do is I have my media company create an intro video and outro video. And when I'm
Yeah.
either doing a solo or with the interviewee, I actually started with StreamYard, because all you do is I come on, do a 1 minute, not even a minute, 30-second hook about what we're about to say. And then I play the intro music with the very short 20-second about what the show is, and then go into the frame. You start interviewing, start engaging with people. Now, outro, I also have that to play out, and then have your clear CTA. Therefore, your editing is a lot cut down, right? You don't have to insert a bunch of stuff. You just have to cut some of the gap time, or if you wanted to be professional, cut out the so's if you wanted to. Now, I believe Riverside, we're recording this on Riverside. You can play the intro, outro as well, and you can do basic editing within the Riverside itself. I just know that if you're like me, I have a production company for the amplification. Means what do you do after all this work, right? You actually need to do all the snippet to really show about your show, not just like, it's out there. Someone out there, someone will find it, right? That's why you're not growing.
I dropped it, so everybody should listen to it, right?
Yeah, right? Like, imagine. And so we would consider that as, okay, be intentional, right? And then so your system can be a lot easier. Now, I know I do a lot of video production, so then I will re-upload them into Riverside, then schedule that to live stream on my platform on StreamYard. Now, Riverside can do the same, except you cannot upload a big file. You can only have the file that you already existing. So that's a little lacking with Riverside on that. But there are many tools. If you don't want to carry all this backend, that's why we also have Healthcare Amplified Collective. And we are, for our collective, that's the reason, is we wanted to help you guys to streamline all these processes. And we wanted to make sure that your content validated and give you the sponsors that we're going to bring in. So you can say, do I believe in the sponsor's message? Great. Let's connect that to my show. And you're going to want to have these bigger name speakers. We will put your show and feature that. So like 5 shows every week to help you get those bigger name speakers. And we will have our network of monthly front working, like what Zach always saying, and to help strategize, learn, and be in the room where everybody else are like you, to be able to grow together. And also, we can turn your content into continuing education. So you can further monitor that as well. People are listening to your show anyway. Why not giving them the chance to claim their CEs? And furthermore, it's John's production company, and between my marketing team, we will do everything from back end. So you just have to do the fun thing of recording, and we take care of everything else to make sure your show growing at the same time. So I would love to, as we wrap up in the next couple minutes, John and Zach, any words that you have really thought why we put the collective together?
Yeah, so I'll go real quick. Again, I want to reiterate the working smarter, not harder. Nothing wrong with hard work. But if you think about it, the 3 of us met at PodFest. And I think we've said that before. And we've all said how cool it'd be if we had access to each other all year long. We're all very busy. We all have busy lives. And, you know, it's great to go to a big, huge PodFest event once a year. But how cool would it be to have access to each other all year? Oh, wait a minute. How even more cool it'd be if we have access to a lot more professionals. And that will certainly make our work a lot more efficient. So this is collective. We're really excited about it because it's really going to help all of us out there amplify our voice, but work smarter, not harder.
Yeah. And I will just piggyback on that from a perspective of your podcast. You know, one of the things that is really changing in the podcast industry is people are becoming part of podcast networks. Excuse me. And part of that is as like-minded podcasters get together that are even niche down further to where they're creating healthcare and wellness podcasts, we can then, as you join this collective, we can bind these podcasts together in a network and then go to an ad agency and say, hey, we're getting $150,000 or 150,000 downloads a month. Let's monetize that together and share the wealth with the people that are part of the network. And that, to me, as you know, what we're doing, yes, we want to share great information, but we're doing this because it's a business as well. And so we're going to collectively, with us three, as well as the entire healthcare amplified community, are going to find ways on a regular basis, as Zach has said, having year-long access to create best practices and grow in ways that we may not even have scratched the surface of. So yeah, the Healthcare Amplified Collective is just a marvelous tool. And as we continue to roll out new aspects of it, it's just going to get better and better.
Perfectly said. It's all about how do we bring all the geniuses together, work smarter, not just harder. And we honor our hard work. We just want to get to where we need to go much faster. All right. Thank you guys for this amazing time spending with us and putting our voice into your ears. And we wanted to hear from you. So make sure you subscribe to our shows and tell us, what do you want to hear more from us and how can we support you?
Come join us on Thursday, January 25th in Orlando for the first ever Healthcare Amplified Summit as part of the 10th anniversary of the PodFest Multimedia Expo. You'll hear from amazing healthcare content creators from around the globe, engage in multiple networking, or as we call them, friend-working events, and collaborate with like-minded healthcare content creators. Experience this and a whole lot more. To register, go to our website at healthcareamplified.org, and we'll see you in Orlando.